Welcome to District Command Central, your go-to source for the latest news and updates on the Washington Commanders. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell, so you never miss a play. The Washington Commanders find themselves trapped in a nightmare scenario that seems to have no end. And at the center of this storm is JAYDEN Daniels, whose injury saga has taken yet another disheartening turn, leaving fans, analysts, and even the team's coaching staff questioning what the best path forward truly is, entering the final stretch of a season that has already been defined by frustration and inconsistency. The biggest question for the remainder of the year revolves entirely around Daniels' health, and whether it is worth pushing him back onto the field at all. The young quarterback, who has shown flashes of brilliance in his brief appearances, has been repeatedly sidelined, and each time he returns, it seems to invite a new wave of setbacks, leaving everyone associated with the Commanders in a state of heightened anxiety. What was once a hopeful storyline of a rising star navigating his second season has now devolved into a cautionary tale of overuse, mishandled injuries, and the very real consequences of prioritizing short-term results over long-term health. The tension surrounding Daniels' status is palpable, and it is a situation that encapsulates the struggles of a team desperate to remain competitive while protecting its most valuable asset for the future. Daniels' most recent return came against the Minnesota Vikings, and it was emblematic of the cycle of hope and disappointment that has plagued this season. He went down with an elbow injury that, at first glance, appeared manageable, leading to a brief moment of optimism when it was reported he might return to the game. Yet that optimism was fleeting, as the young quarterback did not re-enter the field, leaving the coaching staff and fans to speculate on the severity of his condition. Washington head coach Ron Rivera, in his press conferences, has attempted to navigate these murky waters with careful language, indicating that while there were no structural setbacks in the latest evaluation, Daniels had re-aggravated the injury. The team's medical staff, after thorough evaluations, advised that he sit out the upcoming game against the New York Giants, officially ruling him out for the matchup. The announcement was met with a mixture of disappointment and resignation, as it is now the fourth time this season that Daniels has missed a game due to injury. Each absence chips away at the rhythm and development of a young quarterback, highlighting a deeper issue that goes beyond simple injury management. Head coach Rivera has been clear that shutting Daniels down for the rest of the season is not yet the official plan, though the team is rapidly approaching a point where this conversation may be unavoidable. The repeated cycle of injuries raises pressing questions about the wisdom of continuing to throw Daniels into situations where his health is at risk, especially given the remaining games on the schedule. The next three matchups for the Commanders present a stark reality. These are opponents with superior talent, teams that are likely to dominate a struggling Washington roster. Continuing to put Daniels in harm's way could result in further injury, potentially jeopardizing his future while offering little in terms of meaningful team success. In a season that has seen Daniels unavailable for 11 out of 14 games, the logic of forcing him back onto the field is increasingly difficult to defend. The coaching staff's inconsistent handling of his return only compounds the problem, creating uncertainty not only for Daniels' physical well-being, but for his confidence and mental preparation, which are crucial for a quarterback at this stage of his career. The mental toll on Daniels cannot be overstated. Quarterbacks thrive on rhythm, repetition, and the ability to anticipate game scenarios. Yet the constant start-stop nature of his season has denied him any semblance of continuity. The young quarterback has been forced into a situation where each return carries the dual pressures of performance and personal health, an unenviable combination that could have long-term consequences if mishandled. The decision to pull Daniels after initially clearing him to play against the Vikings when the team was down 17-0 reflects the very inconsistency that undermines a player's development. It sends mixed signals. Play if you are healthy, but if there is any doubt, you sit. This oscillation is damaging both physically, through repeated stress on an already vulnerable elbow, and psychologically, as Daniels must continually recalibrate his mindset to prepare for a return that may never come in the same capacity, protecting him in these final games, even at the expense of short-term team performance, appears increasingly to be the prudent course of action. Fans, analysts, and teammates alike are left to consider the broader implications of this season for Daniels and the Commanders. The young quarterback's rookie season had shown glimpses of extraordinary potential, a promise that has been repeatedly interrupted by injury and circumstance. allowing him to heal fully to enter the offseason without lingering injuries or doubts, is essential not only for his personal growth but for the long-term health of the franchise. The narrative of a team pushing a player beyond safe limits is all too familiar in professional football, and Washington's current predicament underscores the dangers inherent in such an approach. The Commanders are faced with a choice: prioritize short-term results in a season that is effectively lost or protect their cornerstone player for future campaigns. In the eyes of many, the decision is clear, and it is one that emphasizes care, foresight, and strategic patience over immediate gratification. The remainder of this season, therefore, should be seen less as a series of desperate attempts to salvage wins, and more as an opportunity to stabilize the team, evaluate personnel, and prepare for the next chapter. Daniels' health and well-being must take precedence, and the coaching staff has a responsibility to ensure that he can enter the offseason ready to rebuild and sharpen his skills without lingering doubts about his physical capacity. The team's focus should shift toward creating an environment where Daniels can thrive long-term, rather than burning through what little time remains in a season that has already been marred by setbacks. Protecting him now is not a concession, but a strategic investment, a recognition that the potential losses in the short term pale in comparison to the benefits of having a fully healthy, confident quarterback leading the team in the future. The responsibility is clear, and the path forward, though difficult, is guided by the principle of preservation and prudence. Ultimately, JAYDEN Daniels' injury saga is emblematic of the challenges facing young quarterbacks in the NFL, where physical resilience and mental toughness are constantly tested. The Commanders must navigate these challenges with a careful balance of ambition and caution, acknowledging the realities of the roster, the remaining schedule, and the fragile nature of a player's development. Daniels has shown that he has the talent and the potential to be a cornerstone for this franchise, but that promise is contingent on his ability to recover fully and regain confidence in his game. Rushing him back into action for meaningless games against dominant opponents risks not only further injury, but the erosion of his confidence and long-term trajectory. In the end, the wisest course of action is to let him step away from the immediate pressures of the season, focus on recovery, and return stronger, smarter, and more prepared for the challenges that lie ahead. The Commanders' decision-making in these final weeks will resonate far beyond this season, shaping the future of both the player and the team in ways that extend well beyond the scoreboard. By prioritizing Daniels' health and embracing a long-term perspective, Washington has the opportunity to reset, rebuild, and emerge from this difficult season with both lessons learned and a foundation for future success. This narrative surrounding JAYDEN Daniels is not just about a single player's misfortune. It reflects the broader implications of player management, coaching philosophy, and organizational priorities in professional sports. The decisions made in these critical final weeks will influence perceptions of the franchise, player trust in the coaching staff, and the trajectory of a young quarterback whose career is still in its formative stages. It is a stark reminder that talent alone is never enough. The careful nurturing of that talent, particularly in the face of adversity, defines the difference between a fleeting glimpse of brilliance and a sustained, impactful career. Protecting Daniels now, allowing him to focus on recovery and mental recalibration, is the only responsible path forward for the Commanders. The team owes it to him, and to themselves, to ensure that the remainder of this season, though difficult, becomes a stepping stone rather than a roadblock in the development of one of their most promising young stars. By embracing patience, strategic caution, and a commitment to long-term success, the Washington Commanders have the chance to transform a season defined by frustration into a foundation for a brighter future, where JAYDEN Daniels can finally reach the potential that so many glimpsed in his early career, and where the organization can rebuild both trust and competitive identity in the process. If you're enjoying the coverage, make sure to smash that like button and drop a comment with your thoughts on the Commanders' latest moves. We want to hear from you. A storm has quietly been brewing behind the scenes in one of the most talked about teams in the league, and now, it seems, the silence has finally been broken. JAYDEN Daniels, the quarterback whose name has become synonymous with both controversy and brilliance on the field, has finally spoken out. And what he revealed is sending shockwaves through fans, analysts, and insiders alike. For weeks, rumors had been swirling, whispers in locker rooms and social media feeds hinting at tension, at unspoken conflicts, at a rift between players and management that many had tried to ignore. But when Daniels broke his silence. He did not hold back. In no uncertain terms, he claimed that no one on the roster wants a certain player back with the Commanders. The statement was both blunt and shocking, a public airing of grievances that many suspected, but few had dared to confirm. The implications of Daniels' words are enormous in the high-stakes, media-driven world of professional football. Statements like these can change narratives overnight. Every fan knows that locker room chemistry is delicate. The success of a team is often as much about relationships as it is about skill and strategy. When a quarterback like Daniels speaks out, particularly with this level of conviction, it forces everyone to pay attention. Analysts have already begun dissecting the statement, trying to read between the lines to understand what it really means for the future of the Commanders. Is this a reflection of a deeper divide within the team? A signal that management's attempts to reintegrate certain players may face internal resistance? Or is it the opening salvo of a public feud that could dominate headlines for weeks? The timing of Daniels' comments adds an extra layer of intrigue in professional sports. Timing is rarely accidental. When a player steps forward in the midst of trade rumors, speculation about roster changes, or even just before critical games, it often signals strategy as much as emotion. Daniels' decision to speak out now suggests that he feels compelled to set the record straight, to ensure that his perspective is part of the narrative before decisions are made behind closed doors. It also raises questions about leadership within the team. Who is truly calling the shots in the locker room? Is Daniels positioning himself as a leader, not just in play but in voice? And perhaps most importantly, what does this mean for team cohesion moving forward? Sources close to the situation have hinted at underlying tensions that go far beyond the usual competitive rivalries or personality clashes. According to whispers from inside the facility, the disagreement is not about skill or statistics, but about trust, respect, and culture. Daniels reportedly feels that the reintroduction of the player in question would undermine the unity the team has worked hard to cultivate. Teammates, too, are said to share his reservations, creating an almost unprecedented situation where the majority of a roster is aligned against a decision from management. If true, this is a rare glimpse into the internal politics of a professional sports team, where public statements are carefully managed, and yet, sometimes, the truth refuses to stay buried. Fans have reacted with a mixture of shock, disbelief, and excitement. Social media exploded almost immediately after Daniels' comments went public, with hashtags trending, videos dissecting his words, and debates igniting across forums. Some supporters praised Daniels for his courage, arguing that it takes a strong player to speak out against potential missteps by the organization. Others worry that public airing of internal conflicts could damage the team's reputation or create unnecessary distractions. The discussion is intense because it touches on more than just one player or one decision. It speaks to the very culture of the Commanders, to how they balance talent, loyalty, and authority. Meanwhile, sports commentators have begun framing Daniels' statement within the larger narrative of his career. Daniels has always been a polarizing figure, immensely talented, charismatic, and outspoken. But this move might redefine him in the eyes of the public and the league. Is he a leader taking a stand for what he believes is right for his teammates? Or is this the beginning of a new kind of tension that could challenge his own position? Analysts are quick to point out that quarterbacks have always held a unique role in shaping team culture, and Daniels' willingness to speak openly adds a complex layer to his influence both on and off the field. The ripple effects could be significant. If the player Daniels referenced were to attempt a return, the locker room dynamics could be fundamentally altered. Coaches, management, and even league officials might find themselves navigating a delicate situation where decisions are no longer just about talent, but about maintaining harmony and morale. It raises difficult questions. How do you reintegrate someone when the majority of the team is opposed? How do you balance contractual obligations with the human element of a roster? And perhaps most importantly, how do you ensure that a team can perform at its highest level when internal alignment is uncertain? These are questions that have no easy answers, and Daniels' statement has put them front and center. For now, the Commanders are at a crossroads. The public, fueled by Daniels' words, is watching with bated breath, speculating on what comes next. Trades, releases, and strategic adjustments could all be influenced by the undercurrent of dissent that Daniels has illuminated. Meanwhile, the quarterback himself remains at the center of attention, not just as a player, but as a voice capable of shaping narratives and influencing outcomes. In a league where silence is often golden, Daniels' choice to speak openly is a bold move, one that could redefine his legacy. For better or worse, fans, insiders, and rival teams alike are left to ponder what this all means for the future of the Commanders. As every statement, every rumor, and every move becomes magnified in the wake of his declaration, the tension is palpable, and the storyline is far from over. Every observer of the league can sense that Daniels' revelation is not just a passing moment. It is a catalyst for a series of developments that could alter the team's trajectory. As the rumor mill churns and speculation mounts, one thing is clear: the dynamics within the Commanders have shifted, and the public now has a front-row seat to witness how it all unfolds. Daniels has thrown down a gauntlet of transparency and truth, challenging both teammates and management to confront realities that have been simmering beneath the surface for months. The drama is just beginning, and everyone knows that in the world of professional football, when a quarterback speaks, the consequences echo far beyond the locker room. The league will watch closely, as will fans across the country, waiting to see whether the Commanders can navigate this turbulent period, or whether the rift Daniels exposed will widen. For JAYDEN Daniels, it is a moment that transcends statistics and game results. It is a moment of influence, of courage, and potentially of legacy. Whether he is celebrated or criticized for speaking out, his words have already reshaped the conversation, making it impossible for the story to return to the quiet whispers that once surrounded it. The coming weeks promise intrigue, strategic maneuvering, and perhaps even dramatic decisions that could define the team's identity for years to come. One thing is certain: the Commanders and the league will never look at locker rooms, leadership, or player dynamics in quite the same way again. Thanks for tuning into District Command Central. Make sure to subscribe and follow us for all the Commanders news you need. Until next time, keep the faith and hail to the Commanders.